This video will give you a general overview on using contractions in English with 20 common examples. So, what are contractions and how do English contractions work? Contractions are coming from casual speech to us. In everyday conversation, we may reduce sounds, which means to make them shorter or quieter, we may elide over some sounds or don't say them at all. We do this to make words easier and faster to say when we speak them. All of those times you think native speakers talk too fast, it may be a result of contractions after all. The good news is that when you become more aware of contractions, not only will you recognize and understand them more, but you'll be able to use them in your speech and sound like a native speaker. The result of sound reduction or elision in contractions occurs like this. I will is spoken as I'll. Do not is given as don't, and my name is given as my names. In writing, contractions are easy to recognize because they include an apostrophe replacing the missing letters or sounds. But I'll give you a warning. Don't confuse contractions with possessive nouns. For example, that pen belongs to Amy is written as that's Amy's pen. That house belongs to my friend is written as that is my friend's house. With some time and practice, contractions can be used very effectively. What happened was, contractions became standardized and part of English speech. And what that means is that they are commonly accepted and can be used anytime except in formal writing. So, for example, in a job resume or a business letter or an academic research paper, etc., you should always avoid contractions. We also have something called non-standard contractions, which are considered very casual and should be used only in casual conversation and informal writing, such as text messages. In this lesson today, you'll learn examples of standard English contractions. So, now that we know how contractions work, let's talk about when you should use them and why you should use them. Then we'll talk about how contractions work by giving an explanation of what stands for the contracted item. So when should you use English contractions? Here are some simple guidelines that you may follow. In casual conversation, for example, while chatting with your friends, neighbors, co-workers, family, you may use English contractions. Also, in professional conversations that are not formal, for instance, introducing yourself to a potential new client at work or getting to know your team members or colleagues. Also, in casual writing, contractions can be used, for example, while writing text messages or social media posts or writing comments to a video. Emails can also have contractions, generally speaking, but in professional cases, you should be avoiding them at all costs. So, I'm also giving you a warning as to when you should avoid contractions. Formal writing strictly should not have any contracted words. For example, business letters, job resumes, formal emails, or academic and research papers should not have contractions in them. Also, during formal speaking events like presentations, lectures, or more formal business meetings, contractions should be avoided at all costs. So, what do you do if you're unsure if one situation demands the use of contractions or not? It's very easy. Listen to others around you, others who are seniors, who are more experienced in using language. Are they using contractions or do you notice their speech to be more formal and correct? Follow the example of those who are around you to sound more native. You may be thinking, do I really need to do all of this? Why should I use contractions? So, I'll tell you why. Using contractions is considered to make one's speech sound more natural and more informal. So, is that a good thing actually? Absolutely. Imagine you are speaking to your closest friend with overly formal speech. For example, hello Amy, I am pleased to see you. How are you doing today? What might your friend think of you if you spoke to her like that? It sounds a bit unusual, right? It is too formal for a casual conversation. Using contractions is like removing a barrier from speech. There is less formality and less distance in the conversation. Instead of the formal way to greet your friend, you could say, hey Amy, it's great to see you. How's it going? Ah, that's much better, right? Contractions are also like a major trend, which is a vogue in language use, so you should use them to sound more natural. Now let's see how contractions are usually working. The first example is I'm, which is I am, short for I am. Second one, he's or she's, which is he is or she is. I'll give you an example. I am Aarthy, or my name is Aarthy, and he he is late, she is late are examples. Number three, we are. We are is given as we are. We are going out for dinner. Do you want to join us? The fourth example, similar to the third one, is you are, written as you are. Fifth example, they are, which is written using the contraction they are. And the sixth example is I'll, which is written to shorten I will. Example, I'll call you later. Similarly, we have you'll for you will, we'll for we will, they'll for they will, he'll or she'll for he will or she will. We'll go ahead and see some more contractions which are commonly used in English speech. Number 11, don't stands for as a contraction for do not. Don't talk loudly. And then we have doesn't, which stands as a contraction for does not. She doesn't want to do this now. The third one, wasn't, which stands as a contraction for was not. 4, weren't, for were not. Number 5, won't, for will not. And then number 6, wouldn't for would not, shouldn't for should not. And number 9 is an interesting one, hows, which is short for how is. And number 10 is how'd, which is short for how did. Okay. As a reminder, these standard contractions are commonly accepted and you may certainly use them in conversation and in some cases in writing as well. Let us have a look at some examples which are commonly confused, which denote contractions that are very usually used by students. First one, it's versus its. Although these two have the same pronunciation, the usage of these two are very different. It's is short for it is and it's used in formal speech, sometimes as a contraction for it has. An example sentence will demonstrate to you the usage of it's. It's going to rain later. Have you seen their new house? It's got 7 bedrooms. Stands as a contraction to say it is going to rain later, or have you seen their new house? It has got 7 bedrooms. As opposed to this, there is the possessive pronoun its, which stands as the same example to denote something like his or her. It means belonging to it. An apostrophe should never be used with a possessive pronoun. Remember that always. And here are a few example sentences to show you how its is used. The dog chased after its ball, meaning the dog chased after a ball that belongs to it. Be careful of that chair. Its legs are wobbly. The chair's legs are wobbly. That is indicated by using its legs are wobbly. And now another classic example where many students get this thing wrong. They are, there and there. So what's the difference between these three? They are is short for they are. Example, do you know if they are coming to the party? They are going to be very shocked when they find out the truth. Here, as you can see very clearly, the contraction stands for they are. Do you know if they are coming to the party? They are going to be very shocked when they find out the truth. The common confusing word with this is there, which is an adverb which is used to refer to a place or existence of something. Example, I've read about Italy. I would love to go there one day. There will be a very important lecture next week. Make sure you don't miss it. Another example, another word which is commonly confused is there. The word there is a possessive pronoun, just like we saw its or his or her. It means belonging to them. An apostrophe, as I told you before, should never be used with a possessive pronoun. And an example sentence is given here will demonstrate to you what the usage of there is. Their dog is very well behaved. Will the party be at their house or are they hiring a hall? So, with these common examples, you may be inclined to use contractions very beautifully so as to sound more natural. And then you have you are versus your. Again, an example where many students go wrong. You are is short for you are. Example, is it true you're moving away? You're my best friend. Where you should never use you are is when you want to indicate the possessive pronoun your, meaning belonging to you. Apostrophe is never used with possessive pronouns, as always told to you before. I met your sister the other day. Your speech was really funny. I hope you found this video to be useful. When you use contractions during English conversations, you appear to be a more natural English speaker, and you can use this simple trick to sound more natural. Thank you everyone.